everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for our 12th webinar, Beyond Job Boards, Accessing Tech's Unadvertised Opportunities. This topic is a really important one, especially for those who are getting ready to enter the industry, and we really appreciate you joining us this afternoon to watch the discussion. So we'll start off with a quick acknowledgement of country. So in the spirit of reconciliation, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the lands on which we gather from today and their connections to land, sea, and community. I'm joining you today from Minjin, the land of Turrbal and Yagara peoples. We pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So my name is Alana Gretsch. I am the Partner Success Manager here at ACS. I've been here for nearly 5 years already, which is kind of crazy. But the idea of my role is to support all our students and graduates all around the country. And I'm also joined by Jasmine Best, who's our Student Engagement Coordinator as well. So if you've got any questions after this webinar about ACS membership, needing assistance with your resume, or just wanting to know more about what's discussed tonight, you're welcome to reach out to either of us, and we're more than happy to assist. So, quick housekeeping. So please note your microphone and camera have been disabled. Today's presentation is being recorded. So for your privacy, we just ask that you won't be able to access to be able to turn it off anyway. So yeah, that's just the reason why, just to protect your privacy, because we are recording this one. So we'll be circulating the link in the next few weeks once it's edited as well. Please use the Q&A function to ask any questions throughout the session. If you are having issues and you don't see the Q&A function, just use the chat function and we'll pick up your question and pop it in there for you. If you do have any questions that weren't answered today, welcome to email our student inbox. So it's acsstudent@acs.org.au, or welcome to reach out to Jasmine and I, and we can pop those questions through to our speakers. Now, please note there is a post-event email that will be circulated after the event. So towards the end of the event, we'll kind of summarize all of our benefits and initiatives you can get involved in, and do note those links and everything will be shared after the event. So no stress if you miss anything from today, we'll have it for you afterwards. We will be submitting your CPD points after the event, but do note you do need to be dialed in for the whole hour and a half to receive the CPD points. If you do drop off and come back on, don't stress, we can capture that. But do feel free to email us at acsstudent@acs.org.au if you have any concerns about your attendance or accessing those CPD points. Now, we've got a really fun lineup today, and I think it's going to really make for a great discussion. So I'd like to introduce our two presenters. So we've got Harry. Harry's our Group Product Manager and Cartology Director. I hope I've announced that correctly, Harry, from Woolworths. But he's also the director of our Member Advisory Board here at ACS. And we also have Zaya, who's a business analysis consultant at BAPL. She's immediate past chair of the ACS Queensland Emerging Professionals Committee, and she's a committee member of our ACS Queensland Branch Executive Committee. So we've got two really big players who contribute a lot of support and initiatives at ACS to support our students and graduates. So I thank you both for being here today. Now we'll kick it off. So if you know how to format, the format of this event is, it's a bit of discussion. So what we'll go through is a number of different phases that covers our topic for today. We'll be throwing out questions to Harry and Zaya for their thoughts and feedback and their experiences. Feel free to pop your questions in the Q&A box and we'll scoop them up and pop them throughout there as well. But yeah, sit back and relax and enjoy the journey. So first, I would like to ask Harry, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career to date. Do we have Harry online?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Awesome. Hi, Alana. Lovely to meet everyone. Good evening, everyone. I think different time zones, so lovely to meet you all. So a little bit about me, my career to date. So I've spent my career at the intersection of data, product, and technology for most of my life. I really focused on turning data into business outcomes. If you want to distill that, like how do we use data on a day-to-day basis? That has been my career forever, and you can possibly add retail to that because I've always been in retail. So I worked at, I started my journey as a consulting person right out of the uni, and then moved on to Woolworths Group as a data analyst. And then from there, I kept working on different data assets and moved on to Coles, where I led the transformation for their first cloud data platform 4 calls on its employees, and then now I'm back at Woolies. I know jumping between 2 ships, but now at Woolies, solving the incrementality problem for advertisement. So if you ask me what is incrementality, for example, you all would see a lot of ads from Woolworths Group, and I'm trying to solve the problem of which ads are more effective, which ads are making people see, which ads are making people buy, which ads have more interactions, and what is the causation effect of all of these. Apart from this, I'm also the director for Membership Advisory Board at ACS, and where I contribute and advise on the strategy and the governance for ACS. And the whole hope is to strengthen the link between the members and the industry.
Amazing. And you've got such an amazing history and so many great experiences that I really look forward to talking to you about further tonight.
Thank you for the kind words. I hope so too.
And we just can't see your camera, so if you're able to turn it on, that would be wonderful too, if possible. And Zaya, if you're online, please tell us a little bit about your career to date.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Hi, Harry. My name is Zaya. IT field is a career transition for me. So I did my bachelor in business. Then I transitioned into like a foreign trading business operations side of career. Then I slipped into a mining industry, in particular doing supply chain management and procurement. Then I got involved in an IT systems implementation project, which didn't end up as expected. And that experience sparked an interest and an aspiration for me to pursue a master's degree in IT. And because of the reason that I've slipped into IT industry, I work as a business analyst and feel very passionate about connecting business with technology. And I currently work as a business analysis consultant. I work with different clients, and depending on the clients and the project that I'm working on, my day-to-day and the scope of work can look quite different. But I guess that's a topic for another day.
That's amazing. And I always love hearing about your story, how you landed from mining into tech and how it's always evolving. And thank you so much for being part of today's discussion.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So let's start with your own stories. Harry, how did you get your first job? Was it through a job posting or a connection, or how did you land that first opportunity?
Sure. Lovely to meet you, Zaya. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself at the right time last time. But so to the question, I had a bit of a topsy-turvy experience. Reason why I'm saying that, I was studying Masters in Information Systems at Melbourne Uni. Whilst I was studying, I was fortunate to get a couple of internships. I went through the internships, and then I decided I want to do something different. And when I say different, vastly different, I went into a screenwriting course after finishing the 2 internships. What that meant is like I kind of lost track of all the network that I was building in the first 1.5 years and started building new networks. Those new networks are not going to help me land in a job, and I've lost touch with the internship. Should have gone there. Then it was not an easy journey from there. I decided like I needed some money to do what I wanted to do within the filmmaking. So I had to come back and then started searching for roles. I think I would have applied more than 100 or 150, maybe even 200 jobs. I lost count of it at a point. Applying anything data that fits in, which is wrong. Please don't do that. I'll talk about it later maybe, but don't apply for everything that comes in. And then I would have attended 40 or 50 odd interviews, and then finally I found a match, and that meant like I liked what they were doing and they liked what I was offering, and then I finally found what I wanted to get. It was a grind, actually. I must say it wasn't easy. One, the system in itself wasn't easy, and I made it even more harder for me by doing all the other things in between. But I think one thing that that helped me going was persistence, to keep going at it until I find the right one rather than giving up. And even in that instance, like persistence in the means of like I was in Melbourne, I received a lot of interviews in Sydney. So then I thought like, let me move to Sydney to find a job. Maybe I get the first job. Now I'm back in Melbourne. I went there to get a job going. once I had the luxury to come back, I chose to come back to Melbourne. So yeah, a bit of a top.
I think that's so good though. It really shows that there's no straightforward, it's not just putting out a resume and getting a job. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today. Wonderful. And Zaya, how did you get your first role and from that uni transition into that first job opportunity?
Yeah, I'll start with the job in IT industry. So I've only had this job actually as a IT business analysis consultant. And because it's a consulting job, it keeps things interesting. So I'm not looking to change roles at the moment. But how I landed this job is that through uni, I did the work integrated learning course worth of like a few credit points. And then I was doing my internship at my current employer. And at that time, it wasn't their processes to hire the intern afterwards. And then at the end of the internship, they gave me a chance. So they took a chance on me and offered me a position. So since then, we hired a few interns later on. So, but I was the first one that they decided to hire. And in my previous careers as well, I've changed like 5-6 jobs, and most of them have been like landed or offered to me by connection. I've only applied for and got a job once through a job advertising. So that hidden job market term is definitely not unfamiliar to me.
Amazing. And Zaya, thinking back when you first started out, what do you wish someone had told you about the tech hiring industry and how it really works?
I think because it's a tech industry, people focus on the technical skills a lot and then just work on the resume and then qualifications on technical skills. But at the end of the day, you can never get away from like soft skills. So if you really show your personal, who you are as a person, what you can offer, not just the technical skills, I think that's going to add a lot of value to your portfolio. And I guess it's all industry and everywhere around the world. You can have a job opportunity in very unexpected way, in very unexpected channel. So keep your mind open.
Amazing. And Harry, what would be, when think back to when you were just starting out, what do you wish somebody told you, that little golden bit of advice that would have helped you understand how the tech hiring really process is?
I think Zaya said that, like, keep at it. So I would add to it, I would say a +1 to that. What I would also add is whether you're going to be right or wrong at this question, try and answer the question to go, do you want to be a pure tech person? When I say pure tech person, do you want to be an engineer to move on to a senior engineer, engineer manager, or like a chief engineer, like, which means you're still focused on tech, or do you want to go into management? These are very distinct, two different skills that you need to acquire through the journey. Knowing where you want to go would exactly, one, give you career satisfaction at the end of the day, that you're happy with what you're doing. And also two, it means that you can train yourself. The expectation from a pure tech person would be very vastly different from a management tech person. Like, you could get away without even knowing code and still work in tech. Today, I don't operate on any tech tools, but I manage a team that operates a lot of things. So don't feel like tech is always needs to be, you need to code and all of that. But in your mind, form a distinction. And I'll give you an example why I say this is important. I'm sure many of you would know SQL. For my first job, I was trying to learn SQL to get ready for interviews and get a job. And in that process, I went through a SQL. There's this famous, everybody knows this, I don't want to say what that is. Like, there is like hundreds of videos of YouTube SQL series. I went through the whole lot, and I was going through everything, not knowing where I should stop. And then after coming to workforce, I realized, like, out of the 100 videos, about 80 videos are for the database administrators, and I was going for a data analyst job. So I needed the first 5 videos, not the other 95 videos. So I could have spent more time in being better at the first 5 concepts rather than learning all the 100 concepts. So my question for you is, ask yourself, do you want to be a database administrator or do you want to be a data analyst? And what is your 10-year plan going to be? And trust me, the 10-year plan keeps changing. My 10-year plan last year versus now is very different. So it's okay to make a decision and then turn around, but focus on at least taking a pivot point that will help you learn the right things and go for the right job and go pick for the right opportunities.
Amazing.
That's
And
it.
sorry,
Yeah, I'm
Zainab.
glad that Harry brought it up because that's going to change how you find the job as well. Because
Yeah.
you will have different strategies to land the job if you're a technical person, and then a different strategy if you're looking for that management or leadership roles as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the skills you need are going to be different as well, isn't it, Zaya? So like if you're a tech person, all you need to know is like you need to know the syntaxes, you need to know the frameworks, you can apply it. But if you want to be in management, then you're going to need a lot of, how am I going to make 50 people believe what I'm saying? Although it could sound ridiculous, because a lot of the good things at the start is going to look ridiculous, but you need to convince people. You need to convince people to trust you, to put money into it, to follow you, and to lead. So the expectations are going to be two different things. And also, it is better to realize what you like. And it's okay to make it wrong, and then you can change. Like I was going into pure tech and then came into tech management, then went back to pure tech, then came back to management. So there is no right path, right answer, wrong answer here. Like whatever suits you today is the most important thing. But as long as you know what suits you today, that's the critical path.
Amazing.
I guess I've unconsciously made that decision, Harry, very early on. I'm not going to be a full tech.
Yeah. So let's go into it. So what is the hidden job market? So this kind of topic came up because the stats have come out now, over 70% of jobs now through your network. We hear that there's all these jobs everywhere, but when we're going on to Seek, it's very limited. So this topic's been one of, I think, a lot of discussion. So we keep hearing the term hidden job market, but what does it actually mean? So Zaya, could you give us some examples of what are these hidden opportunities look like?
I'll bring an example that has happened very recently. And a person from my ACA's circle has reached out to me asking for a recommendation for a role that currently doesn't exist and is just only an idea, because they're trying to build up a business and thinking to hire someone. And then they have described what type of skills and what type of person that they're looking for. And then that description just sparked an idea, like someone's name just popped in my mind. I knew that person from uni, and I reached out to that person, explained the situation, explained that this is, just an idea. And if you guys agree on both sides, maybe this can be a job opportunity. So we proceeded on the resume. I've sent the resume over to that person who asked for a recommendation and then made my recommendations. And then that person is currently still hired and working for that company. They started as a part-time because it was at the start of a new business, and then turned into a full-time role now. Yeah, I think amazing. That's hidden job market. They had an idea of hiring someone, but haven't advertised it yet. And it could also look like internal hiring or, not ready to advertise yet, but they have the need.
Yeah, they're looking for that right fit kind of thing. And we'll deep dive into the importance of networking, because I think you've just touched on how amazing that is that, that person came to you, but then you thought of somebody else and made that connection as well. Harry, is this job market actually really hidden, or is it just most of us don't actually know where to look? What makes these opportunities invisible to most job seekers?
If I have to give you a one-word answer, the job market is not hidden. It's called hidden because it is hidden in plain sight. It's about who you know and what they're going to offer. Like, for example, I'll give you I'll open up a role today for a senior product manager within my team, and none of you can see it apart from some of the team members within Woolworths Group. That's a hidden to a company, but very soon it'll be open when we don't find it. But also think of those as, I think the another thing for you to think of just hidden market as well, I would say is who gets into a role is going to be very important. The person who's going to do the role or a lot of times would define how that role is going to be. And there are some very famous public examples. Like think about Apple when Steve Jobs was there and now Tim Cook isn't there. Now, I'm not saying like this role is right or that role is right. Steve was more visionary. He was building single products that were like everlasting, but Tim's focused more on operations, making it more scalable. Look at the scale when Steve was there and the scale now. So those are two things. But imagine it's the same company, the same products, but how it has changed. So think of that as the hidden job market is two parts. Part number one is sometimes you know somebody who you want to work with. So then you go on and create something for them specifically to come in. And that only happens only when you know somebody. Like, for example, Alana could go like, I love Jasmine. She goes and do something different outside of ACS. Then she would pick up like, okay, I like Jasmine. I'm going to take her with me and I'm going to shift that role's responsibilities to suit her needs and her growth plan and everything, which she would have opportunity for. Then the other part obviously is like, we want to hire a role. I have a role and I want to hire, but before putting it out loud, I want to see if any of my connections know somebody and they would have a strong recommendation. Now, this is not based on acquaintance. This is like strong recommendation to say somebody who has a track record. Like, for example, whilst I was doing the transformation in my past, we wanted a project manager, and we wanted a project manager with 15 years of track record experience to deliver transformation. So then we can land the right things at the right time. And I am not going to take on recommendations from everybody, but somebody who has done this transformation rings me up and then say, hey, I have somebody who will exactly fit in. And I go like, oh, can I meet them? So it is, don't think of that as like, okay, I am connected on with them with LinkedIn. Now I'm going to ask them and they're going to give me the job. So it's more about what is your track record as well in this job hidden market. And I would also say, don't get bogged down when you're, especially if you're a graduate trying to get your first job, don't worry too much about the hidden job market at this stage as well. It is okay. Like there's still plenty of jobs out there that you can still go on with. All you need is just one job. You don't need 100,000 jobs. You just need one job. So don't focus on what you don't have. Focus on knowing the right people who one day would come back and tell you, this guy has a track record or this woman has a track record, hire them. So you need to aim to get there rather than worrying about that. So it is there. Unfortunately, it is there. It is also for the betterment. When you all go into senior roles, you will find the blessings of having that hidden job market. Maybe not now, but I would say aspire to be one of those people who goes on and use these hidden job markets benefits, and aspire to be one of those people who gets job through job hidden markets.
Yeah, amazing. And it's great to hear those stories because it is so true. Even for myself, when I got like my job at ACS was through a connection. And I would never have known about this role. I was actually working in law, so I still wonder how I got here. But it was through somebody letting me know and going, hey, I actually know the manager, are you interested? And I was like, wow, what an opportunity. And it was because of her recommendation, she could vouch for the type of person I was. It made that process, automatically at least get the interview. So it can be amazing what can come up. Harry, pulling from your experience as a manager, could you explain to us what is internal hiring? Because like Zaya's situation where people are getting these internship and grad opportunities, they don't always understand the opportunities of that business that they've just started in. So what does that internal hiring look like?
So internal hiring is more around, let's say, so each of these orgs, depending on the size of the org, they're going to have verticals. Like if you take retail, the verticals are something like operations, which is this people who works in stores. Then there is commercial people who looks at buying. Then there is technology as a vertical. Then there is people and culture as a vertical. So you could have a business analyst who works in people and culture, will have adaptable skills to go on and work on an operations team, or they could work in an online digital team. So these are some of the internal hirings. What we mean by internal hirings is, for several reasons this happens. One, for example, we know how the economy is right now. Every company wants to cut the spending that they want to do. So what they do is like, well, I'll give you an opportunity to hire a person, but you have to hire it internally. What that means is they're not bringing a new person into the ecosystem, but rather they're using the existing resource and redeploying the existing resource and allowing themselves to make some of those decisions. So it's more around you are in a company and you're finding something similar to what you do or a step up from what you do into a different vertical or a different business unit and move across. And these could differ from the size of it. If you go to a scale of Woolworths and Coles, you could go into a totally different place, which you might not even know what they do. If you go into a startup, you will know exactly what you're doing, but then you might totally do a different role. Like, for example, you might start up as a business analyst. People will like you. I love your job. You're actually doing the delivery work really well. Do you want to be a project manager? So then that's an internal transfer as well. Not just because you don't change team doesn't mean it's not an internal transfer. It's about either you're changing your title, you're moving into a position within the same org without having to get out of the job. And I have changed, I think I was counting about like 6 or 7 times in the past. I've changed internally. I've never done a role I've never been in one role for more than 3 years. It's always something comes up and then they will put me up. And it was never like I had to apply. I would applied twice in the last 12 years for a job. I've never applied. So you keep doing the good work and people will find you and you will have a network.
And those internal hiring is a great way to kind of look at your transferable skills as well, because you might be doing one job and going, oh, this isn't quite for me, but there's an opportunity to have a look at the bigger picture and be like, what can I adapt and maybe evolve into a different direction? That's
such a good anecdote there, Alana. So look at it this way. If you're, let's say somebody is in an IT tech support and they have been learning databases or like they've been learning some software development, and you want to apply for a software engineer in the outside world, they might look at like, do you have software engineering experience? Do you have these? But if you're in the company and it's a mid-sized company and you know exactly what those systems are and you apply for the engineer and you've been solving the tickets and you know the ecosystem, now you have transferable skills along with the actual engineering skills. So then you can go and say, look, you have a Salesforce backend, you have the database backend, you have these, you have Postgres, you have all of these. I know all of these systems and I can prove you that I can be a good engineer. So your proposition of getting an internal transfer to become an engineer internally versus externally is going to be vastly different. Internally, you're going to have more upper hand versus externally. But I would also say every time you move internally, you might not get a bigger paycheck. So I would say define it as when you're moving internal, move for role focused, move for higher blast radius roles, higher impactful roles, and different job descriptions and all that. When you're moving out, that's when you might have the salary bumps and everything. Because when you move internal, it's going to be restricted from a HR perspective of how much you can grow, what you can do, and all that. So there's pros and cons. Use it wisely.
And I will just quickly jump in here with another scenario, just because this one comes up a lot, is we do get a lot of students who are saying, you know, I want to be a cybersecurity professional. I want cybersecurity. And it's like, that's great. Like, and those jobs are out there. But sometimes it can be quicker by getting, you know, a service desk role, do it for a year, but then, you know, open that up and have those conversations. It was a lesson I learned. I did a Bachelor of Business and went into receptionist. And I had about 6 different people next to me come and go. And somebody said, Alana, you haven't told anyone what you want to do. And I went, oh, I want to get into marketing and events. And they were like, but you haven't told anybody. And within 6 months, I was in that department. So that's a very big lesson I learned. But for a lot of our students, they're wanting to get to these particular jobs. But yeah, there's a real beauty to internal hiring and putting it out there what you're into.
Yeah, that's actually a powerful story that you said, Alana. So you started as a receptionist there, but you built your network and you told people that you want to be in communication. So the next time something came up, they knew you're reliable, you're trustworthy, and they kind of see the trustworthy skills, and then they go like, okay, hey, there you go, take up that role. And I think ask yourself the question, what job are you doing right now? What job do you want to do in 3 years? And how closer are you? Like I mean, like you could be like in hospitality, and then you have an IT job that you want to go to. Like it's better off taking a support role and then working your way through cybersecurity. And a lot of the companies focus on internal growth, internal training, and you can express what you want to do. A good company would always take care of you. They will give you options to learn. They will give you people to support you to learn. Go into a company, start up as a tech support, find a mentor in cybersecurity, and then say, I'm interested in going into cybersecurity. I don't want a job from you, but help me get the right skills. Now you have a connection to somebody who is a cybersecurity professional who can be a sponsor for you at some point, but get them as a mentor today. So in 2 years' time, they can be a sponsor, and they can, God knows, you could be even hired by them.
And Zaya, I know you've done some really amazing volunteering roles. So can volunteering or work experience turn into a job opportunity?
I actually like that internal hiring thing. I just wanted to add something.
Yeah.
A lot of business analysts that I know, and good ones, they have turned from IT support to BA. So I'd like to think of what skills, what job do you want to do? And then what skills are required in those roles? And then what other roles are gonna teach you those skills. So if you look at support role, it's in communication skills, problem solving skills. Those are all very important for business analysts. And then you can get those skills and then present that. You have a track record of those skills, and then you can transition into BA role. Internal hiring, happens quite a lot. And then, that's a hidden pathway there, IT support to BA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah.
And then volunteering, I think so, because at the end of the day, as you've mentioned and Harry mentioned, it's a long game, the networking and being offered the role, using connection, being required for who you are. It's a long game. So you keep showing up, and then you keep putting yourself out there and show what you can do, what you can offer as a person. And then that can land into some opportunity. I'll give you an example. So I didn't end up taking that role, but I used to work and volunteer at this charitable organization. And then CEO of that company happened to play golf with a CTO of a big hospital in Brisbane. And then they were having golf and then having small chit chat work. And then the person says, oh, I'm actually looking for a good BA. Do you know someone? And then I got a call from the CEO of the volunteering organization asking me, oh, are you a BA at your day job? And I said, yes, what's wrong? Oh, my friend is looking for someone to hire. And I did go through the interview, but it didn't align with my career aspiration. So I gave it a pass, but that was an interesting, like a pathway that I wasn't expecting, and it had nothing to do with IT. But yeah, that's what I mean by job opportunity can present itself from anywhere, literally.
Yeah, it's amazing who you can meet along these opportunities. And I heard of a story where somebody was even volunteering at a food bank, and they were standing next to the CEO of a big tech company and didn't even realize. So it can be amazing who you can come across when you're taking out those opportunities. Harry, you might not have had much experience, I guess, because your pathway, but what is the value of approaching a recruiter?
Oh, super, super important. Always approach a recruiter. So every time, so I'll give you what happens behind the screen before somebody puts a job, and that will tell you why it is important to speak to a recruiter. You could have, let's say we take a business analyst role, and within the business analyst role, you would look for completely different skills sometimes. It could be the same business analyst, it could be the same job description. And trust me, we don't review every single line item of a job description. And there is a set standard, and then we just update 2 to 3 lines in the middle is what we usually do and mostly do. But we update quite a few things in there, but there are a lot of templatized things that you see in there. Now, in certain instances, we might give the brief to a recruiter, say, help me find somebody who can understand time and attendance systems for this particular role. And for a different BI role, we would be totally going and saying, like, help me understand somebody who's worked in the digital Adobe space. And you might not see exactly or decipher exactly some of these things into the resume. Maybe at this level, Adobe and time and attendance, you can see in the title, but we might have a totally internal need where like we might have a new person, or like we might have an experienced person in the team. So then when an experienced person is in the team looking after Adobe, then we would go like, help me get a junior. And when the new person is coming in, we would go like, help me get a senior BA here. So then they can pair up with the new person and they can grow across. So depending on the role, there could be a lot of brief that will come in handy to tell you whether that role is important for you or not important for you. And there is a lot. When I said about job description, we don't update fully. Nobody can ever write everything in a job description. If you write everything that we want to put in, you're going to lose, and we're going to lose a lot of people. So speaking to a recruiter agent would, one, help you understand what is in it. So when we prepare a role, we go to the HR person and then we talk to them and then say, okay, I'm looking to hire a BA and I want them to have X, Y, Y, Z skills, and I want them to have A, B, C experience, and they'll be able to talk and all of those. So if you speak to the recruiter, you get the closest version of what the hiring manager is looking for to get a little bit more than job description. And on average these days, there is about 200 to 300 applications per week. So if you are the one calling the recruiter and speaking to them and trying to make an effort, that means you are one step closer than the rest of the 299 or 250 people who applied for the role. So you can answer, or you can tailor your resume better for what their expectations are. And also think of the recruiters as the gateway. We don't go and review each, although we could be the hiring managers. Like I have an open role now, I don't go and review every single profile that comes through. There could be like 300 applicants or 400 applications. The HR will review everything and they will filter out and they will give us 5 to 10 applications. So your first goal to get to an interview is that HR believes you, that you are the right person or you could be the right candidate for the role. And they won't put yourselves in the HR shoes. Why would they want to take you in? They don't want to take risks. Like if they want to make a big bet and they can only present 10, if they give me 50 profiles, I would go like, can you reduce the numbers? I can't review each 50 profile, 50 resume. So they have a job to do as well. And their job is to handpick who would be the right person for this role. So you need to position yourself, and you can do that and you can ask questions. And actually a lot of good HRs would really like you asking those questions, because if you ask those questions and if you come prepared and then you get the job, that means their job gets easier. A lot of the times they would look for 15 different open vacancies, or even sometimes 50 to 60 different open vacancies at a time. So if you can make their job easier, they would actually like you. And you wouldn't believe how many times some of those roles would be open for like 5-6 months until we find the right person. So if you're the right person, or if you can project yourself that you can get there, then make all efforts to get there rather than not doing it. Ring up that number. If they're free, the worst case is like they're not going to talk to you. The best case is you know exactly what to speak in the interview. So the upside is much bigger compared to the downside.
Yeah, definitely. And they can be a great advocate for you as well. So yeah, I highly recommend recruiters. Zaya, you've got a great presence on LinkedIn. So how can tools such as LinkedIn be of value when looking for that job opportunity?
Definitely keeping connections. So networking, but also like keeping connected to those networks and looking around what's happening, really like pay attention to what people are posting, like what's the topic these days. And also like follow the organizations that you want to work at, and then follow their LinkedIn to see what's going on, what are the recent news, and follow the people who work there. So you get some insights as well. And also you can use LinkedIn to reach out to recruiters. And Harry, actually I have a question for you. Is that allowed, Alana? Can I ask Harry?
Yeah, go for it. I love that.
It can be quite intimidating, especially if you're not used to LinkedIn or reaching out to recruiters. If it's your first time, what are the suggestions you would give Harry to reach out to a recruiter? Oh, what's your golden question, Harry?
No, thank you. Good question, actually, Zaya. I'm one of the introverts. I'm not sure if you see it. That I try to push myself to be like in these open forums, but I am like, I choose the corner seat that I'm not more visible when I go into a cafe. That's the type of person I am. So I find it hard to message as well, like in LinkedIn, especially when I don't know those people. But what I try to do usually is like I try to keep it short and exactly go, hey, my name is this. This is why I think I saw a role that you applied. This is why I think I could be a good candidate. And if you're still in the market for it, and if you still want to have a conversation, I'll be interested to chat. And I'll try not to write big things. Number one, what I would avoid, and I will try not to say like, can you offer me the job to anybody? Or I would say like, can you recommend me for the job? Rather like keep it very light and then say, I'm interested. Are you still open? Are you still looking for the jobs? Because a lot of times people would have posted something and they would have found a person in 1 day or 1 week, and then we go back to them after 3 weeks and they might say no. So probably ask with a courtesy and be more courteous when you're asking to say, I'll be interested to maybe a phone call, and I'm happy to set a time and spend some few minutes in there. So keep it very crisp, so it doesn't take a longer time to read. You see a big message and you're like, oh my God, okay, I'll read it later. And then you put it away. So try to make it easier for them is what I would say when you're sending it. So then they send an immediate response. I'm going to ask you the same questions, Zaya. How would you do it? I'm curious now.
I would agree with you. Keep it short and simple and light and very courteous. I actually like that. And I would recommend to write it yourself. Don't use AI because it can be it can be seen, it can be read, it can be noticed, and that's gonna be like for me personally at least, it's gonna be a big turnoff. I sometimes receive a few messages on LinkedIn as well for recommendations or for questions or asking for recommending someone for an organization. And the biggest turnoff for me is that sometimes people can be very pushy, and I would recommend the audience here to try best to avoid that. And yeah, just be very courteous and then respect other people's time. It takes me a time to read it and then actually give some answer that is going to add value. So yeah, really reach out considering that you need the response and what do you want out of it. Just do not shoot out 100 messages trying to catch something, because those are people's 2 minutes of their life, you know.
Very true. Awesome. So we're going to move on now about making those real industry connections. So I'm going to kind of zip you through these and throw them at you quickly. So Harry, we've heard all about it's not what you know, it's who you know. But what does that actually mean when you are starting out and you don't actually know anyone in the industry just yet?
I would say one big no that you never should do, especially when you're starting the network. Please don't go and ask somebody to refer you at the first instance that you meet somebody. That is a big turnoff. People are never going to come back and talk to you ever after that. There are certain people, like when a person is actually referring you, that means they're putting their credibility online when they're referring you. So that's a big thing that when you get into the market, you will understand. You work for building that image over a period of years, and it's not easy, and nobody wants to put it in line. People will help you when they know you're authentic, you're trustworthy and everything. Not knowing, so don't do that. I don't want to labor on the point. But if you're new and if you don't know anybody, the best thing you can do is, well, you're all part of these events. So which is number one, you're ticking the box. So try and attend some of these events. Use organizations such as ACS and see where are all the common places people gather. Like, for example, if you're in DevOps, if you're in software engineering, cloud, infrastructure, security, there are beer ops. There are plenty of events. Find out where people like you are gathering. And there is this saying, right? The people dress up in a way where they feel belonging. Like you would see the finance people dress up totally different to a software developer, to a product person, and you can see the dress codes and everything. So it's easy to spot some of these things. You want to make yourself feel belong to a community, whichever you want to go into. And you can get that only by being around them and working around them and pushing yourself to be in those places. So start off with events, start off with places where you can meet people, and then get acquainted with LinkedIn. and then wait for it. The connections that you're making in LinkedIn today might not help you in the first month, second month, 6 months, 1 year, but they will come back and help you after 3 years. For example, I think I connected with Zaya in 3 years ago, Zaya. I think so, 3.5 years ago, when she was the EPC chair.
I'm not that old.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to give away the age here, Zaya. Let's keep it secret. But we came together for a national EPC event last year. Although we connected time ago, but we came together. But we had certain chats during the time, and that meant like we knew each other. It's not like I'm meeting a person new, but I know some bit of it. Maybe I don't know a lot of her, but then the next opportunity you get is like you're not starting from step 1, but rather like you starting from step 3. And now you met her, then it will build over time. So patience is key, and ask consent. Don't never ever, as I think Zaya made a really good point in the last one as well. Hold that, write it somewhere. Never be pushy with any of these. If you're pushy, you're not pushing them closer to you, you're actually pushing them away, whether it is for getting for jobs and forming a network. If you're considerate, if you're courteous enough, and then just start off with something simple and then work your way through over time, it will work. So I think events is what I'm trying to say, and be around people, find out where your kind of people are and push yourself into those places.
That's amazing. And we've got such a great community at ACS too. Like it's can be wonderful who you can meet, even just in the kitchen at one of our offices or at an event. Zaya, are contacts such as teachers and faculty staff to be considered part of your network? And what value can you find in utilizing your education provider's career department?
I've heard in instances of teachers getting asked to recommend students or graduates as well for roles. So that's definitely one of the networks that you can utilize. But also, I would like to add on Harry's point, it's a long game. Networking is a long game. You build your portfolio, your profile over time. And the students that you're studying together with now are the starting point. Make connections and really like a personal connection with the students that you're studying together with, because those are the industry peers that you're going to be working with. The example that I brought at the beginning of the meeting, that I recommended someone to a role, I knew that person from uni. I was their senior, so I graduated early, but we studied together. That's how I knew that person. So definitely don't limit yourself to people who are already in the industry. So search from what's already accessible for you. So build connection with your classmates and then your professors, etc. And when you go to events, one of the common mistakes that I notice when the network comes up is that it's not a numbers game. Like it's not going to be valuable if you knew 100 people at certain limited amount. It's going to be more valuable, in my opinion, if you knew a few people, maybe 5, 10 people, but with in-depth. You really know what they do for work. For example, you know their interests, and you've showcased through conversations and those multiple occasions that you showcased who you are as a person, your personality, your behavior. And yeah, like for example, I met Harry, connected with him like a couple of years ago, but it's not that first instance of networking events that connected us. It's like occurrence of multiple events and multiple occasions that added up who I know Harry as a person. So definitely it's patience, it's going to take time, and it's definitely not a numbers game. So keep numbers small and quality connections.
That's true. And if you are just starting out, like you could, you know, like Harry said, ask for consent, but you could ask your teachers if they would be happy to connect on LinkedIn or, you know, recommend you for a job. But what we're finding is a lot of the educators, if you are still studying, you do actually have access to really great career teams, and they actually have industry connections as well. So whilst you're looking outwards, also look internally and see who can help you as well. Harry, we've kind of touched on this one a little bit already, but how can attending events actually help your job search?
How attending events would help with a job search?
Yeah, so if I'm like in the thick of applying left, right, and center, and I'm not having much luck, and we keep saying at ACS, come to our events, come to our events, where do you see that value? Why are we saying that come to events kind of thing?
There's multiple levels of importance in going to events. As I said, especially if you're new into the workforce, if you're trying to get the job for the first time. So let's break it down into multiple places here. So if you're new into the workforce and you're trying to crack into the market, it is important you speak a similar language when you're in the interviews. And you can't learn that language out of university. You can only learn by being around the professionals who are in that zone. Like DR is a very common term. People would speak when you're in the business. They don't keep referring it as disaster recovery if you're in tech. But knowing, I'm not saying like you should know this, like that's one example that you will grow out of it. But there are these smaller, very tiny things that kind of add up to your profile. When you go in front of the people and then you can exactly speak in a language that they speak, it's a big uptick, especially in the interviews. And events is a place where you can meet, you can see like a professional, an expert comes in and speaks about it. And when they speak, be curious about what they speak, but also how they land the message. Because if you can follow, like even just the bare bones of how they deliver a story, you could use it in your interview. How they approach a topic and how they call the tech terms while they're speaking could be very useful for you. So there is threefold usage in there. You get to know people, you get to know how to land a message. You also get to know what are the common terms and common lingo that they use. That's as a new person. And as you grow, if you're in a mid-career or growing in your career, that will also still help you. Still face events as a key place where you go on and connect. Like, I think it has reached a point where like if any event that happens in Melbourne, and especially if it's in data and product, I kind of already know who's going to come in for that place. So like I go on and ping like, hey, I'm going to go in for this event. Are you all coming for it? And then like we plan like, okay, we're going to go out and spend some time after for a little bit of time. We're going to talk. So now I used to have a network of people who I studied with and people who I formed my network whilst I was studying in uni and then at work. Now with the help of ACS and events, now I know totally different people coming from very different background who has nothing to do with retail or nothing to do with product, but is in data. And I get to meet them and I get to learn how they establish things. What do they go through? How do they go through? People who work for companies in US. I'm kind of learning a lot still. Like I see very new people. So I don't think the learning ends. Events is a really, really good network. And I'm not saying like you go and attend every event that gets posted. You need to know what events you want to attend, what journey or what discipline you're trying to choose. When I say discipline, like software management, infrastructure, and all of those things, choose your discipline and then filter for the events that you want to attend, and then be around those people who you want to become to. So the closer you are with them, the sooner you will be one of them.
That's great. And I mean, there's so many great examples with events. Like we had one in Brazil not long ago about AI, and what really stuck with me was a really great keynote, and he put out questions to the audience and somebody put her hand up and answered. Now, when it come to later in that event, he had like a whole circle of people around him and he just went, you, and it was almost like a TV scene and pointed at her and she just went, yeah, me. And he goes, you answered one of my questions. And she said, yes. And he just went, I want to talk to you about a possible job opportunity. And it was just like, again, they don't happen very often, but they happen, and it wouldn't have happened unless she went to that event. So it can be amazing who you meet along those ways.
Exactly.
Zaya, sorry, how are you good?
No. I said exactly.
Yeah. Zaya, so putting your industry representative hat on, when you've had a networking conversation at an event, what's actually worked on you? So when a student has come to you and they've, having that networking conversation with you the first time, and you've actually thought, wow, I really want to help this person. They're brilliant. Do you know what type of things, I guess, you're looking for that conversation that you're like, you don't feel like you're used. You're like, I actually want to give back and help this person out.
I generally try to answer and help, but like less pushy. Like sometimes it can be a bit intimidating if I like feel like I'm being pushed into a corner to answer a question, and like it's a scary feeling that I had a few times. But yeah, like being honest and have a practical question.
Yeah.
Like if you ask me what are your tips in landing your first job, it's a big topic. I don't have an hour or 20-30 minutes to have a workshop with you, you know. So have a very practical, like for example, I'm looking to apply for a BA role. I have this skills, and which ones would you recommend me to put on my resume, for example? That's a very practical, like a quick question. Like it can end up in a long discussion, but something tangible that we can work on. But if you ask me what are the networking tips or like generic questions, it's gonna be like, where do I start? Oh, we ran out of time kind of situation.
I like that. So they've got to be direct and honest and be able to have that conversation with you, but yeah, not too just broad. I like that approach.
And sometimes I like it. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes people have made the effort to know about me first, where I work and what experience I have, to evaluate if I'm going to add value to them. So I'm definitely going to try and help that person because they've made the homework, they've done the homework. But if someone's just like coming to me and throwing out random generic question, I'll be like, well, probably not the best suit.
No, I agree with that. And Harry, I guess like on the flip side of that, you know, you present at quite a lot of events and I'm sure talk to a lot of people. What's an approach that just doesn't land for you? Like that you've had somebody come up to you and you just think, this person is just trying to get something from me. You know, what's some bad, you know, things that they shouldn't do?
The bad, I think if you scale it up, I think the worst is like you would have met them just now and they would go, Woolworths has got this role open. Could you refer me for that role? That's the worst that it can ever get, I would say. And the other one is like, I think I'm going to add to what Zaya just said, like not saying like just have a human level respect. You don't have to have like superlative respect or anything. I'm going to be courteous of your time and I'm going to respect your time, and then being cognizant of reaching out to somebody, like what time are they messaging, like what are they texting and all of that. Like I would say just use common sense in those places to go, I'm going to say this, would I be like it if I am in their position? If you ask those questions, that would solve most of it. And Zaya mentioned something in there which I really, really liked. It's like ask curious questions. So that's a very, very, very important thing that she raised in there. Yeah, when you're speaking to people, you don't even need to know everything or what to speak. You could just go, hey, I don't know how you do this. Can you talk to me about it? And if you say that, if you're really curious, people will always talk to you a lot. And the worst part after asking the question is you just ask a question and then like you look at your phone and then go like, yeah, okay, hey, keep talking. I'll listen. So don't do that. Just be genuinely curious.
Intention. Our intention in what you're doing, what you're saying, and what you're asking. And
exactly. Yeah. I have had so many people in life who have asked questions and they would go on and explain why they're doing what they're doing and all that. So if you have the right intentions, as she just said, and you're really curious about it, you will find the answers.
I'm going to bounce on that, Harry. Like, has anyone read How to Make Friends and Influence People, that book? So I haven't read the full book, but that book basically says that ask a question about that person, because that, like, people in general, it's in our nature. We like talking about ourselves.
That's my go-to when any conversation gets awkward. I just ask the person about some advice.
But you have to know what to ask, right? Still with that tip in mind, you have to have done your homework to know at least where they work or what's their role, etc., to make the conversation flowing. But yeah, another turn off at an event that I speak to people is that they keep on talking about their story, their like experiences and their stuff. And I go, like, where's the question? Like, how can I add value? I understood what you've been through. Okay, I understand. And how can I help? There's no action or there's no question at the end. And that's, I think, waste of both of our time, I think.
I think it's so
I'm going to
true.
add one more thing to it. Zaya, you reminded me of my old days when I used to be at uni. I'll go into events and I go like, what do I even talk to these people? There's just all these people. And somehow when you don't speak to anybody and there is 100 people around you, you just feel like maybe I am the one who doesn't know anybody in this room. How am I going to break into a conversation? What am I going to do? And like, I just keep thinking, and the more I think of it, the more I'm going to be isolated and I move around and do different stuff. What helped me, well, after all of these going through certain events, I realized like I could do something. And what I did was like, I look at what's the major happenings on that week. And I go like, oh, I just read about, what do you think about AI in 3 years' time? Is it going to, people say it's going to take jobs. What do you think? What is your stand against it? And then like I can let the other people talk. Now I don't have to talk. I just ask a question. And I also learn how the industry people are talking. You could get different answers from different people. And the other one that I also have is like something very general. Like for example, here the Reserve Bank has cut interest rates. How do you see this? Like, are we going through a recession? Are we going to come out of recession? What do you think? And trust me, in a micro and a macro level, all of these answers, knowing these would tell you when to apply for jobs, when to not apply for jobs and everything. So be curious on these topics. Just have 1 or 2 questions. All you need is, you just need to talk to one person. Even if there's 177 people in here, you don't have to talk to everybody to feel belonged. You just need one person to talk to you. And all you need is just 2 questions. Prepare 2 minutes before you walk into an event, have those 2 questions, and that kind of helped me. I just feel like, oh, I'm prepared for this event now. I know what questions to ask. And then I go in, I look for answers from different people, and I walk out like, okay, I've learned something today.
I'm going to add a tip on that as well. I definitely agree with you, Harry, quality over quantity. I have a very bad social anxiety, and networking hasn't come easy to me. The tip that I've learned over the time is that I always try to make sure that I arrive on time or before the time so that I'm the first few people in the room, if not the first. And when I've arrived, I try to have a safety connection with someone. If I'm not with a friend, I try to connect with someone that I can talk to on a casual basis. And then I try to make a connection with that person first, and we converse, and then I go talk to other people, and then I notice myself, oh, the anxiety is kicking in, I need to reach out. Then I go to my safety connection. Alana, you've been my safety connection in many events.
I thought so.
Oh yeah, it's been mine as well. And sometimes I go like, Alana, what are you doing?
It's yeah, I just cannot help with my anxiety, and that helped me quite a lot to have this tip up my sleeve. Yeah, I thought I'd share nice. In case someone else has the same anxiety as me.
Firstly, thank you for sharing, Zaya. That's very, I mean, it's really honest, but also like there is a very practical thing to apply. I feel I have some of those. Maybe I don't label it properly and then go through it. Rather, I go like, oh, I know that person. I'm just going to talk to them and then come back around. I really like how you put it to go like the most important thing is like you capture that you're there and then you find a way to navigate it rather than getting succumbed with it is really message there.
Yeah. The anxiety is going to come bad if the room is full and you're the last person coming in. Like everyone's going to look at you, and it's not the best circumstances if you have that social anxiety like me. So make sure that you're on time, if not earlier, and then have that safety person. Maybe you can just like be honest with them, like choose another student or someone that you've seen before, and then just go there and say, hey, how do you feel tonight? Maybe propose, would you like to be my safety connection? Oh, they don't have to know. I bet Alana didn't know this whole time.
No, it is so important. It is so important, and it can be quite daunting to come to events. And I think we've done a whole session on how to network because it is it is hard. It's looking at professionals like for me, I thought Harry, I never see Harry get nervous or anything, but for him to say he's an introvert, I'm quite surprised where I'm the same. I really struggle going to events, but I'm quite often up the front, but you take me to any other event and I'm in the corner awkwardly holding something in my hands because I don't know what to do with my hands. So it's amazing. We a lot of us do struggle with this, but I know at ACS it's our goal that at every event, or at least with our emerging professionals, that nobody's on their own. So I think that's a really, really wonderful goal to have as well. But yeah, thank you, Zaya, for sharing it. We really appreciate that.
I'm gonna add one more thing.
Yeah, go for
if
it.
that's okay. So Harry touched base on this. You want to present yourself that you belong. So in your mind, before going to the event, you imagine yourself as that person. Like let's say if I'm a student, I imagine myself or manifest, like whatever the term is, right? I think that I'm a BA. What does a business analyst, like what personality do they provide? Oh, I need to be friendly, I need to be approachable, and I need to be people's person. And then definitely, like immediately, I can turn into that vibe, personality, like putting my insecure and anxious Zaya aside and presenting my BA Zaya. And I'm ready to talk to people because I'm a BA Zaya now. So it's a mind game. I know that everyone has a little, like some level of anxiety and social thing. So you're definitely not alone.
Amazing.
I'm going to add one more thing now.
Yeah.
I love the thinking of which event you're going and dressing up is very key, Zaya. Like I always keep thinking up until now, every time I'm going in, I'm going to make sure I don't underdressed. If I'm overdressed, I'm okay with it, but not too overdressed, but at least like, I don't want to be the odd man out in the whole group to go, he didn't dress up for that event. But this is to your previous comment that Alana made, like, I didn't knew you were nervous. ACS actually helped me in a lot of ways to overcome my introvertness and like not being able to go across and talk. And especially the point that you made, Alana, we make sure, at least in the EPC events, nobody feels alone. I felt a lot of these, like as I said, I find the corner place in the cafe that people don't disturb me, so I can eat my meal properly without anybody disturbing me, is how I am in the normal life. But when I go into events, I think 2 years ago when I became the chair for EPC, I felt like there's going to be people like me who are standing in the corners. So then I made a conscious effort to say, okay, I'm going to go say hi to them. I'll spend 30 seconds with them, and then to the next person. I'm just going to keep doing these for 5 people in a single event. And then slowly it became my nature and I started doing it. And I kind of, as Zaya kind of named it, called it out and pulled out herself like knowingly, but maybe I was doing it unknowingly without knowing what I'm doing. But over time, now I don't feel that nervousness when I'm going out and speaking to somebody. I feel like I was there. There is somebody who's exactly there where I was some years ago. Now I'm going to try and see if I can make them feel better. And at the same time, they're going to feel better about it and then move across. So actually ACS events help me get better at some of these. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Now we are going to go to our Q&A section. So if you do got questions, make sure you pop them in the Q&A box. Yeah, amazing comment. So Harry, I think this one actually was from the start of our webinar when you were reflecting, when you were first looking for jobs in Melbourne, but also in other states. When searching for work, was there a clear difference in the opportunities available in Melbourne compared to other states? Or did you find it was quite consistent job-wise?
I'm going to tell my age if I say which year I'm going to, so I'm not going to say that. But back then, the startup network was not as big as it is now in Melbourne. And because of that, the opportunities are pretty much equal right now between Melbourne and Sydney. So I wouldn't say there is still a little bit of difference. Like Sydney has more jobs getting advertised, getting ready for things. But I think as a graduate, Melbourne is a better place to get a job. Solely being there's a lot of startups. and it's a win-win. Like startup can't pay for an experienced person every single time. So then you need someone to get your door in. They need somebody to put in. They can't wait for an expert. So it's a good bargain. So depending on what role you're in right now, if you're in a senior position, then maybe Sydney gives you more offering compared to Melbourne. But again, as I said, like all of these are just excuses that we tell ourselves, like I am in Melbourne, so I don't get a job. I purely then moved to Sydney because I had one interview every week and I was traveling to Sydney every week and coming back. So then I thought like, maybe I should just like, I did it for like 6 weeks and then I gave up and said like, maybe I should move to Sydney to at least attend the interviews and see how it's going. And I came back after 8 years.
And this is a really good question. And I think this one comes up quite a lot. And both of you have probably been on similar journeys. So as an international student, it's really hard to find a job in our own occupation, and the visa timeframes sometimes a barrier for a really good job. What do you suggest for getting the jobs in your own occupation as an international student?
Do you want to go first, Zaya, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I kind of got my job straight away after graduation, so difficult to answer this one. But I know a few people who expanded their search, not limited themselves to the occupation that they're looking for, and then kind of navigated their way through to what they want to be, where they want to be. That few things that we've mentioned, Harry and I mentioned that support role as a start, and then maybe through internal hiring or more networking opportunity to land their second job. And the visa restriction is kind of tricky for international students and the expiry date, but definitely do not be hesitant to ask the support from your current employer or your potential employer, because as I've said, like if you can really demonstrate that you can add value to the organization, most of the time they're willing to take that extra step to make you stay or keep you in this country. Do you have anything to add, Harry?
I think I would say start your journey as early as possible, and have clarity around what role you want to apply. If you do 2 internships, or maybe like 3 internships whilst you're studying, the time that you have to find a job, you should be able to find a job if you know exactly what you're going for. And also have the clarity, rather than if you want to go for a certain job, find the peripheral jobs around it and then make sure you target for those, rather than casting a wider net to go, I'm happy to do project manager, I'm happy to do PA, I'm happy to do software engineer, I'm happy to do DevOps, I'm happy to do cybersecurity. Don't go with that. Like, I know it might sound like anti to, I'm trying to apply for anything that comes in, but you're not having like 10 different resumes for each of the roles. And don't tell me you change a line and then you say you have a different resume. If you're applying for if you're applying for a BI role, maybe spend more time into making that profile right and getting that profile closer by having the right experience, having the right internships, and that will help you land the job. And it is not easy. Let's just accept that fact. Like getting a job, getting the first job is just not easy. We could sit here and then say like, oh, it was tough, it was hard. I knew how it was when I was going through. So there is nobody in the world who can tell you this is going to be the silver bullet for you, that you can get it. What you need to aim for is, I'm going to do 15 of these things, and that means the probability of me getting the job is higher compared to doing 15 other things. Prioritize what those 10 or 15 things are, and the 15 things could be, I make my resume direct every time I apply, and don't use that seek functionality where you can upload your resume and just like quick apply. Trust me, you're not gonna get the hit rate. Rather, spend time. You apply for one job, for the whole day you spent and you apply for one job, your hit rate is higher compared to you apply for 15 jobs in one day, because you're applying the same resume. Your resume would apply only for that job. So these are activities you can prioritize to go, these are the 15 things that I'm going to do when I'm starting my uni. And if you prioritize and focus on that, that means your probability of getting a job is higher. And then you need the right person, right time, right place, and all of that comes in. Control your controllables is what I'm trying to say, rather than focusing on what you don't have.
Yeah, adding on to that, like when you expand your job search, not only the position that you're looking for, like look for a connection or this like common skills that you can apply to the role that you want to go in the future. And then I agree with you, Harry. Start early, like start at least a year before your graduation. That's at least what I've done, and maybe that's why I didn't have much time. Didn't need much time to.
Yeah,
Wow.
we've got some. Oops, sorry, Harry.
No, okay.
We've got so many good questions coming through now. Harry, probably pulling on your years in your career so far, and you've been now with Woolworths for some time. What tips would you recommend for an established professional who's been at the same organization for a lengthy period? Do you have any advice on how they can, break out of there?
I would go for a very structured approach especially if you're in a big company, then find out what role do you want to go to, number one. Don't just think of like, I want to go for that role is there, this role is there. And I want to add one more thing here, which is very important. I said I haven't done the same thing for every 3 years, but out of that, at least like 3 or 4 times, I created a role for me to move into. Like what I mean by that is like I would start with something like one team, and then I would say like we need another team for this, and I would evangelize for us for my leaders to start up a new team to focus on a certain area, and then I go into that role, and then I prove that I can be in that role. So don't focus on what you have, focus on what do you want, and then if you can find out who is closest to that role, who's closest to doing that role that you can get in touch with, and then speak to them, and then have a open conversation with them. Like, I want to be doing your role in certain time. Can you help me what my gaps are? And finding a mentor in those places would actually help you find where are you lagging, where are you doing well. And we have a common bias. I do as well. After all of these years, I can say I have a bias as well. I would think I'm doing everything the best I can. I'm the best in the world, and whenever it comes to product, I could say that. But if you go speak to my manager or my leader, they would come back and tell you, Harry, you don't do this well. The sooner you honestly get to what are all those things that you don't do well in a constructive way would actually help you go to where you want to go to. And having the role clarity is important in those places, especially if you're stuck in a role for a longer time, it's either because you're doing things that are indispensable, or you're either not high performing and they don't feel like they don't feel the fear of you moving on to something else. And that means like they want to keep it going over and over. So start giving your team the signals you want to achieve, you want to grow, you want to do something bigger. So take up new responsibilities that shows you're available, you have capacity, and then if you work out what skills you have, what skills you need, what's the gap, how are you going to build the delta, and then you show them you're building the delta, then that makes them think, okay, he's trying, I need to help him find the right ropes, and they will do it. Nobody's going to give you anything in silver. You have to.
That, yeah, I'm gonna bounce on that, Harry. Like, in my culture background is like Asian. I'm from Mongolia, so in our continent, let's say, you don't say what you want. That's like frowned upon. And you perform, you work really hard, you get offered, you get evaluated. That's how the career progression go. That's definitely not the case in Australia. If you're listening to this, express what you want and where you want to be to your managers and to your networks, and put yourself out there and don't be afraid to say what you want.
100%. If you don't say what you want, nobody's going to know what you want, and nobody's going to help you what you want. And I think there is a fine line as well, like, and don't just go and post for the most simplest thing to say, like, I've built the whole thing. Be humble in what you're saying, but at the same time, you can be humble and still go on and say, for example, I'll even give you an example so you can line it up. I could say, I built the best water bottle in the world. Or you can go, I've tried to build this water bottle. This is good. It can store a liter of water and it can always carry. Can you help me what other things I can do with it? It's a totally different way to say, would you buy this product? And then say, this is the best water bottle in the world. You're not trying to do marketing for a big company. You're trying to market yourself. So be considerate on what you say and how you approach, but speak about yourself. You need to be humbly speaking about yourself. Otherwise, no one would speak for you.
So we've got some great questions coming through. A lot of these questions are around resumes and interview things. So just note we've done some really great sessions on those. So we'll provide some links for them as well. But a kind of scenario that we're coming up a lot with is, as a recent computer science graduate, I'm finding it really challenging to present my skills effectively as a junior candidate. I've completed several personal projects, built my own website, taken red team and blue team cybersecurity courses, and attended networking events. Despite that, I sometimes feel underqualified for many of the roles I see online. What steps can I take to become more job ready and better demonstrate my motivation and capability to others?
One thing that came to my mind. Do you want to go first, Harry? You're on mute.
No, you go, Zaya. You finish it.
Yeah, like immediately I thought about, like, if you on your resume, if you jump around too much, the recruiter or the company that's looking at your resume is going to get really confused. So define what career pathway you want to demonstrate or show on your resume. Like Harry said, do you want to be a people's technical person, or do you want to be a full-on technical person? And then follow that decision to present yourself on your resume. And if you I want to be a programmist, but then I also have cybersecurity skills. Maybe if the role and the company is going to benefit from that skill, go on, present that on your resume. But if that's not going to add onto your profile for that specific role that you're applying to, there's no point putting it there, in my opinion. So clear in your, make sure that your resume is speaking to the role, and then presenting yourself as a suitable candidate, line to line, almost presenting you as this is the person for this role.
I think you covered the key point, and I kind of noticed that as well. He said, I've done the blue team, red team certifications, and I've built a website. It's good you've done quite a lot of these. Probably the way you represent that could be important as well. If you're going for a security professional role, then I would rather not say I've built a website. I would say I've built a website with these frameworks in security, with these attached with it, and that means it's bulletproof, something like that. So frame how you're saying certain things, and as Saya mentioned, have the clarity of what you're going for. And even after reading the whole thing, I'm still not clear what kind of role do you want to go for? What level of seniority role are you trying to go for? Are you going for a junior role? Are you going for a senior role? It looks like I've done something, which means, are you trying to imply to say, I want to go for a medium career role and all of that? So say it out loud, state what you want to say at the first line, so then people can follow along. Up until I hear it, until the last word, I'm still going in my mind, where are we trying to take this to? So probably when you're approaching this, say that I'm looking for a junior security professional roles. I have security certifications. I have got X, Y, and Z. I've built a website with all of these frameworks. It's a better story to tell. And people love hearing stories. People resonate with stories rather than facts. And that's where not using AI, as Zaya mentioned at the start, would help. If you can really craft a story, it would touch people, and people will remember for years.
I'm going to bring my resume as an example. If without giving the full storyline, my resume is going to confuse a lot of people. I've been in business, I've been in mining, I've done this, project management. Then all of a sudden did an IT degree and ended up as a business analyst. I also have a cybersecurity certificate. So without giving the background, the context, it's very confusing. But if I say, as I mentioned, I've done this project and sparked me an interest in IT sector, so that's why I've done the IT degree. And because I like and I feel enthusiastic about connecting business with IT, that's why I work as a business analyst. And because of a specific project that I was working on that needed cybersecurity knowledge, I did an upskilling in cybersecurity. So with that context, it's going to make sense. But without that, it's just going to be a shambles.
Yeah, amazing. And we'll touch on one more question from the audience, and then I got a few more to wrap it up. Anano has submitted, do you have any advice for pivoting out of roles you keep somehow landing into? For example, I somehow keep getting roles in teaching, mentoring, talking about tech, but I want to land an actual tech job. Um, I know Anano, you're amazing. You would be amazing teacher actually in mentoring, but she wants to focus more on tech. How can you kind of, is that a rebranding thing? Is that, where you're looking for in the market? I guess, do you have any advice on how you can, not be pigeonholed for one thing, but be, try and focus in another field?
You want to take this, Harry?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So if I get this right, she's in the teaching area and she
No,
wants to.
she's studying tech and she's doing tech, but she presents at a lot of events, runs workshops, so everyone keeps thinking
But she's
teacher,
an
but she's actually
amazing
a techie.
personality.
She's amazing.
Okay.
She has too much of her interpersonal skills for your context, Harry.
So, I mean, first thing, you could consider being a teacher, Nano, because you're great at it, but she wants to do the more techie things.
I think if you are presenting in events and if you can talk and if you can influence people, product roles could be good for you. Like that's at the intersection of public speaking skills and tech and data and everything. So you could pick up something like that. You could go for associate product manager role, which doesn't require you to be full tech based, but rather like it's more about talking, explaining things and all of that. That could be a good career. Why I'm saying that is like you need to find a way that balances both of your skills, especially if quite a few people. Now, I don't know how you base that feedback from. If it actually comes from people you respect and it's coming from a wide amount of people, then probably there is something going for you. Then you need to find out how you're going to channel that into what you do on a day 9 to 5, so then you be more effective in it. And you can look for either like product roles in tech, or you could look for business analyst roles in tech, which involves a lot of those talkings and everything. Or you could look for change management as a role as well. That could be really cool. Like these are tech roles. Trust me, these are tech roles. You'll be living and breathing tech forever. It might not sound as tech as engineers and stuff if you want to be, but given the feedback that you're receiving, that you've told us, I think that could be a good pickup space to go into and move on.
My two key points on that would be rebranding, as Ilana had mentioned, or the question had mentioned. It could be like just a simple phrase saying that, oh, I'm super nerdy about this topic. And then that could be a phrase you keep on mentioning that, and people immediately gonna assume that you have a lot of technical skills in that sector. So that could be your rebranding. And also be patient, not to jump into the role that is being offered to you that is not going to align with your career aspiration, and actually make the effort and wait for the technical role that you want to take on presents itself.
Amazing.
Nice.
Now, again, we've had some great questions come through about soft skills. We've done webinars dedicated to what are soft skills, so we'll share some past links as well to help out with some of these questions. My last question to both of you is, what is your piece of advice for those who have been searching in the job market for some time and are, facing that rejection and really finding it tricky? What is that piece of advice that you want to leave with them to help them kind of land that opportunity?
Do you want to go first?
After you.
Yeah. I think the first, if you're not getting through these interviews and a lot of different things, frame your mind as a hypothesis-based one. Validate these questions first. Have I got my resume right for the roles that I'm applying? And also check at what point is your journey is getting stopped with that you're not getting a job. Is it at an interview stage? Is it your profile is not getting picked for interviews? So if your profile is not getting picked for interviews, that means you're applying for the wrong roles. If you're going into interviews and you're not getting through, that means people see potential in your resume, but it's not being transferred when you're meeting them. So find out where the leak is. Like, for example, if you're driving a ship, it's important to know where the leak is so then you can go on and fix it. So that's an introspection question that I would ask you to look into that. and then understand where you're standing, where is the problem is. Seek guidance from somebody who are experienced into these. Like your seniors could be a good place to go into, somebody who's just gone through the journey from you, or like people who you meet in ACS and a lot of different places. Find out if they can help you answer some of those questions. So I'll go structurally answer these questions. Is my resume right? Am I applying for the right job? Am I presenting well during those interviews? And am I in the right place? And am I in the right frame of mind? Sometimes you can think in your mind that I have all the answers, and you might not be able to say the right thing or convey it in the right thing. So am I communicating my things properly, are the questions that I would ask. And usually the problems are in one of these buckets. I think so. I can't think of anything else right now.
Yeah.
Maybe Zaya will come with something special.
I have a few things in mind, actually. The first thing first, have a log, like analysis work, right? Like keep logs of where you're applying, how you're applying, what feedback you've got. And at least like when someone calls you to come for an interview, you know what you've put in your resume and what you've written in your cover letter. So have a track record of what you're doing and how you're applying, and try to get feedback and improve on your next step. And then second thing that I wanted to mention is that surround yourself with people, especially if you've been in this job search for a long time and if you feel exhausted. Surround yourself with people going through the same journey as you. Could be like someone you've met at a networking event, or someone that you've studied together who is also searching for a job. Like connect with someone who would get you and who's at the same level as you, so you can share your insecurities and share your thoughts and experiences with them. I know it's a bit daunting to say that, oh, I'm having a difficult time, to someone who's already, like rising in their career. I know it's a bit intimidating experience. That's one thing. And last but not least, like be kind to yourself. Try to protect your mental health. At the end of the day, job is job. It's only a certain amount of your life, and your life is rich and wonderful.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you, so much for your time today. We really appreciate your insights, your advice, and I think really, really valuable takeaways from today. So thank you both so much for your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, lovely meeting you both, and all everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So before everyone heads off, we're just going to quickly run through a couple of the ACS benefits and things that align with today's presentation. So if you haven't already checked out, we do have the ACS Careers platform. I saw it earlier, somebody's having issues accessing it. If you are having any problems, definitely message us at acsstudent@acs.org.au, and we'll be able to troubleshoot that one for you. So this platform has a great range of internship and graduate programs available, and is a good way to kind of think outside the box too on opportunities. As you can see, carsales.com is on there. I've seen TikTok have tech programs available, Australia Post and more. So really great platform to have a look through and see if there's anything available. We also have our wonderful ACS Emerging Professional Community groups. So these are LinkedIn groups dedicated to our students and graduates, and I'm going to share them in the chat as we speak. So make sure you join those ones. We promote jobs on there every Friday, if not more during the week. And Azaya gave a really great example. Some of these opportunities actually come from our network. So it is really worthwhile jumping on top of them and seeing what those opportunities look like. Actually, to flag as well, a lot of our emerging professional committees will go up for expression of interest to join. So if you are based in Tasmania, the expression of interest is currently open. South Australia is just about to be announced, Queensland and WA. So if you want to be part of these state-based emerging professional committees, keep an eye on your LinkedIn groups, keep an eye on ACS Weekly, and encourage you to get involved. We also have some really great events coming up. So if you access them via our website, you can use the tab just up here. But in person, I'm lucky enough, we'll be in Hobart this Wednesday. So come along to this panel. We've also got Helen, our president, as part of the panel. So a really great person to have in your network. If you're based in Sydney, there's a really great career workshop coming up about exploring Australians' tech roles and skills. If you're based in Adelaide, you've got Job Readiness in the Age of AI, which is going to be a really great panel to talk about how to get jobs in this industry. And in WA, they've got Future Proofing Your Skills. So another really great emerging professional initiative in Perth. So definitely go along to those if you're based in those states, and a great way to build up your connections. In regards to upcoming virtual events, we've got Boost Your Career with Industry Internships. This one's actually hosted by our professional year team. So if you are interested in learning more about the professional year program, this team is the one who will be able to provide those insights. And those internships are actually built in part of that program. So really great initiative event to attend. Our next Career Toolkit webinar series is on coding your personal brand. And we're going to have Dr. Meredith Castles, who's based in Tasmania. She's an associate professor at UTAS, but is also a Twitch streamer and YouTube content creator. So we're going to hear about how she's built up her brand, as well as from Noah, who's based in Sydney, who's one of our emerging professional members, who's got a really wonderful presence on LinkedIn. So a really great session to be part of. You've also got Accelerate Your IT Career with Expert Mentorship, and how to excel your first tech internship. So some really great online content as well. We'll be sharing out these links to these events in the post-event email. If you're based in Adelaide or Brisbane, I'm really excited to launch the Level Up Careers Fair. So Adelaide is, both events have got 4 stages worth of tech dedicated content. I would know because I'm finalizing it all today. But we're going to have career pathways into space technology, engineering, cybersecurity, and more. But we've also got sessions dedicated to tips for international students. We've got a panel who are going to talk about how they got their internship or graduate program. And then we also have a panel of hiring managers. So a really great event to come along to. ACS members actually get 20% off those Friday tickets as well. So we'll pop these in the post-event email to come along to. And if you're not yet a member, we really recommend you join up for the ACS membership. For a lot of our students, it would actually be complimentary, but welcome to check out the QR code. And if you've got more questions about membership, of course, welcome to get in touch. And follow us on social media. So on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So LinkedIn's where we promote most of our bigger initiatives, but welcome to connect on across the platforms. If you've got some feedback, I've just popped the link in the chat as well. Complete the feedback form. This is helping us continuously build this series. We're looking to what topics we're going to do for 2026, so really value your feedback and insights. But thank you again for coming along. Really appreciate your time and efforts. Thank you again to our presenters, and hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you.